My name's Peter Merry. For just over 30 years, I've committed my life to fighting for a better world. I use the word fighting consciously because most of that time it's felt like a struggle, continually swimming against the stream, the pain of seeing a world around us that reinforces a sense of separation, of exploitation of people and the planet, and every step of the way, just trying to do work that feels meaningful and contributes in some way to a better world. This morning, when I woke up, something shifted. I felt the world that so many of us have been working for over the last decades was actually already here. That came to me in a wave of emotion and out of a contemplation where I was reflecting on the various educational partners we're working with at Ubiquity University and the number of them who are showing up with incredible transformational programs. And it suddenly crystallized in my mind that there is a whole world of education out there that's enabling people to be properly equipped for the world that exists, that's enabling people to get an education that treats them as a whole person, that recognizes the value of other life in the world. And it dawned on me that these tens or hundreds of thousands of people who are getting the benefit of this education are part of a new world, and that new world is already there. And suddenly the whole picture crystallized in my mind. There's hundreds of thousands of holistic healthcare practitioners across the world who are treating people as if they were whole human beings. There are regenerative nature initiatives that are helping land to be restored to its natural vitality. There are projects that are bringing organic food and healthy eating to our tables all over the world. There are alternative financial systems that help us to honor each other, the communities we live in, and the rest of life on this earth. This world that so many of us have been working for so hard over the last decades is here. And it's here as a parallel reality to the world that we see reflected in most of our mainstream media. But it's here as a complete alternative to the old system that we've had to live with over the last 150 years or so. That realization brought, as well as a big release, brought with it a sense of responsibility, a sense that it's up to us now as leaders of these different systems, these different sectors in this new world, to make them as professional as possible, to make them as accessible as possible to as many people as possible across the world. Because if there's one thing that's sure, it's that the old systems are collapsing. The old systems are actually, in terms of their life vitality, dead. We've just not buried them yet. They're like zombies, sucking the energy from the people, from the planet, and pulling back initiatives that are attempting to do things in a new way. And somewhere, most of us know that. The problem is that most of the new system is not yet mature enough, or hasn't been, to take over the helm from the old. And so we also have to look with compassion to the people who are leading the old systems, many of whom in their hearts know that they are at the end of an era and that the systems they're leading are outdated and ill-equipped for the world that we're in today. Our job is to build the new systems that make the old ones obsolete, so that they can let go and hand over the reins to the new world. And my realization this morning was that that new world is there. There are alternatives in every sector I can think of to the old systems. They're the new normal. In fact, it's never been normal in the old system. What's normal about an education system that treats our children like machines, that feeds them through a factory to make them ready for a marketplace that will exploit them as a human resource to make money out of them for an economy that is owned by a few? What's human about a healthcare system that only treats you when you're sick, that doesn't attempt to keep us healthy, and that sees us as lots of separate pieces somehow all connected up, that doesn't understand that the body and the mind are one thing, that takes us apart and tries to put us back together as if we're little machines? What's normal about that? What's normal about an agriculture system that by definition is dependent on this earth that we live on, that kills the very earth and the soil, that needs to provide the food to keep all of us fed? What's normal about that? What's normal about keeping hundreds and thousands of animals cooped up in inhumane conditions and slaughtering them with huge amounts of waste and pain and suffering along the way, so that humans can have protein that isn't necessary from those sources and isn't always good for us? What's normal about that? What's normal about a people that feed themselves with food and drink that's actually bad for our bodies? What other species does that? Do we know of any other species that consciously puts food and drink into its body that it knows is bad for it? What's normal about a financial system that distributes most of its wealth to a few and leaves others without the means to look after themselves, struggling with all the mental health issues that go with that, and doesn't honor everybody's capacity in the same way, doesn't help people to bring out the best of themselves, to contribute to the whole, because of the way the money is centralized in this system that currently dominates globally? That's not normal. What's normal about a business world that is driven by shareholders prioritizing their short-term profit rather than the well-being of the people they serve and the societies that they live in? Forcing the whole system, forcing business leaders to make decisions that are all profit-driven as opposed to driven by well-being. There's nothing normal about that. Anybody from like a parallel planet which hadn't gone crazy like ours would look at this and think it's completely insane. What is normal is this new world that we've built. And that's what we need to remember, that the new world is here. And this is what's normal. It's normal to have an education system that honors the child as a whole person, that helps them to find their passion and their purpose as they go on into the world, and then keeps the learning process going, doesn't limit it to a few years and then eject you into a market to be exploited by the economic system that we're a part of. It's normal to have a healthcare system that treats the person as a whole person, treats the body-mind as integrated, understands the system as a whole, doesn't just focus on one little part and try to fix it without understanding its relationship to the rest of the system. It's normal to have a food supply that is good for the earth that it comes from and is healthy for the people that consume it. It's just completely obvious. It's normal to have a financial system or a system for exchanging wealth that enables people to exchange the products and services they need, but make sure that everybody can meet their basic needs and can make sure that everybody has a way to bring their passion and talent into the world. That's completely normal. It's normal for businesses to be focused primarily on serving people and making sure that they're regenerating the rest of life on this planet as they go about that business. I mean, what's strange about that? That's completely normal. It's normal to have an energy supply that is infinite and that doesn't destroy the ecology of the planet on which we live, that comes from natural sources. I mean, it's insane if you think about it, that we're destroying the very ecosystem that supports us. It's suicide. And then all these people who want to leave the planet behind because they see it, leave planet Earth behind because they see it collapsing and want to head off to Mars or some other planet. I'm not going anywhere. We're indigenous, all of us, to this Earth. This is our home. And if we were to align ourselves with the natural intelligence of all life on this planet, we'd be able to make a home for everybody here. We don't need to get off planet and go somewhere else. What we do need to do is we are going to need to ask nature's forgiveness for the pain and suffering we've caused to all of life. We're going to have to learn to forgive ourselves for forgetting that we are the Earth, for forgetting that we're just another expression of life on Earth. How could we have forgotten that? Talk about insane. How could we have forgotten that we are the Earth? This is the Earth talking to itself right now. When we remember that, we will feel the pain of that separation. Feel the pain of the separation from this mother that gave birth to all of us. Not only the separation, but how since then we've treated her with not only a complete lack of respect, but violence, to the extent that many of her life support systems are on the verge of collapse. How can we have done that? So there's a big step for us to take in forgiving ourselves and asking the Earth for forgiveness. Asking the peoples for forgiveness who we've mistreated over the years, the individuals in our own lives, but the societies and the communities, places of the world that we've exploited for our own ends, be it economic or power-driven. But if we can do that, if we can reconnect to each other, reconnect to the rest of life on Earth, we have between us all, and I mean all beings on earth, we have the intelligence we need to be able to build a civilization here that will serve all life and enable everybody to live together. One of my greatest teachers, Dr. Don Beck, had a saying that he used to share in all of his courses and things. And it was, no prizes for predicting the rain, only prizes for building the arks. No prizes for predicting the rain, only prizes for building the arks. Over decades, he repeated that message. Well, Don, I think we've built your arks. Hundreds of thousands of us, earthlings, have built these arks that are the new world. What we need to do now is sail them as a flotilla that will enable anybody on the planet to make the choice to step into the new life-affirming world rather than be part of a civilization that is essentially destroying itself and much of the rest of life on Earth. The difference I think I feel between what the work was when I started 30 years ago or so and where we are now can be nicely illustrated by this graphic that Bacana Institute gifted us many years ago, but that I've kept using in talks and presentations. These roles that we have to play in these times of transition. And the one that I think I and many of us were focusing on was creating the conditions for the new to emerge down at the bottom of that new curve that's coming up. It's also critical that we help the old systems to die and let go gracefully, which is something I feel we've been less good at, but is a huge opportunity for people to hospice the old systems. But they can't let go until the new is mature enough. And yet I feel now across the world, we have got solutions in all the sectors that have been tested, proven as concepts, proven to work. And so what we need to do now is move to this third point on the curve and start telling the story, letting people know that the new world is here, that there is an alternative, and that most of us have a choice to step into it. Any of us who are beyond needing to meet our basic needs, who are beyond the need just to survive, which unfortunately, to our disgrace at one level, is not the whole of humanity yet. But for those of us who have that possibility, there's no excuse anymore. We can find clothing that comes from sustainable sources where people are treated well and the earth is respected. We can source our food from places that treat the earth well and nourish the body. We can make choices about our diet that keep us vital without us having to then be dependent on a healthcare system that is stretched as it is. We can choose to look after ourselves properly in a holistic way, our body, our mind, our emotion, our spirit, so that we're able to make the greatest contribution we can make at this time. We can choose education for ourselves and for our children that nourishes us all as whole people, that doesn't treat us as factory items that need to be pumped into economy to make money for those at the top of the pyramid. We can choose to develop and support our local economies, to help entrepreneurs who are meeting needs locally. Where we put our money, we can choose, if we have any money left over, to put it into savings that are ethical, that support social entrepreneurs, that support the development of the new world. We can choose to source our energy from sustainable providers. The new world is here. In all sectors, we can choose to live in it. And for those of us who have that choice, there's really no excuse for not making it. We need to put our attention, our energy, our resources into the new world. Withdraw them from the old life-destroying systems, and it will, of its own accord, weaken and dissolve, probably not without a struggle. And without being romantic, in the future, there's going to be a lot of pain. We're not done yet with the cascade of crises. And yet, as these old systems collapse, we have new ones that can catch the system as it falls, that can provide the alternatives in a more meaningful and holistic way than the old system was providing. And as the old system crumbles and the new one steps in to take its role, before we know it, we'll be living in a new civilization. This is not something we need to do on our own. We have each other. Not only each other and the other humans on this earth who are pioneering this new civilization, who built the new systems that can take over from the old. But we also need to know, once we've reconnected to ourselves, to each other, to life on earth, gone through the healing and forgiveness process, we'll be supported from many, many different dimensions. The natural intelligence is there, has the answers. Everything we need is there. We need to just get out of our heads for a minute. If we need a solution, we need to sense it and feel it more from our hearts. Ask for help. Ask for the insight. And it'll come. All the information is there. All the information is there. And then we use the best of our intelligence that we've developed over the last years to implement the insight that came to us in that contemplation. But we're not alone in no way. Once we make the choice to do what we can to be of greatest service and help build and scale this new civilization, you can be sure we'll be helped from many different angles. For those of us who've been in this struggle or movement for so long, we're not rebels anymore. We're builders and scalers. We need to assume the mantle of responsibility that comes with leading a civilization, that comes with creating and providing the education and the healthcare and the basic needs and the healthy food systems and the financial exchange systems and all the other sectors in which there are solutions. Like, we need to assume that this is the norm now. And we need to get ourselves well organized, get our shit together, and build what we have already developed. So that as this old system crumbles, we're there, ready to catch people who fall off the boat so they can join the ark of this new civilization that is already here.